Good situation here. Rachel Anger is here. Cindy Bird.
Here.
Kathy Calhoun.
Here.
John Kalila.
Here.
Kenny Curley.
Here.
Pam Delabar.
Here.
Kathy Dunham.
Here.
George Eigenhauser.
Here.
Yukiko Hayata.
Here.
Carol Krasnowski.
Here.
Rich Maston.
Here.
Steve McCullough.
Here.
Melanie Morgan.
Here.
Thank you. Brian and Pam are not on the call. Is that correct?
Correct.
Daryl Newkirk.
Here.
Sharon Roy. Sharon, are you on the call? Okay, we'll circle back for Sharon. Howard Webster. And Howard, how about Eileen Tartaglia?
Here.
Shelley Borowski.
Here.
James Simbro.
I'm here.
Shelley Perkins. No Shelley Perkins. Gavin Cow.
Yeah, here.
Eva Chen. Eva will not be on the call. Is Matt Wong on the call?
Here.
Thank you. And I see our show rules chair, Monty Phillips, is on the call. I acknowledge
Affirmative.
you. Thank you. Is there anyone whose name I have not called? Okay, so let's circle back and see if Sharon Roy is on the call. No, Sharon. Howard Webster is now on the call. I see you.
Yep.
And Shelley Perkins. Does everyone have the capability to raise your hand? We wasted a ton of time at our marathon 7+ hour meeting trying to get people's votes. Everybody knows where your hand raise button is. I got to check and be sure I do too. Okay,
Yep.
I'm going to put myself on mute.
Who is the CFA marketing that doesn't have a picture?
Oh, that's Desiree.
Ah.
She was on because I wanted to make sure we were streaming live on YouTube and Facebook.
Okay.
Michelle. Okay.
Let me take my hand down.
I'm-
So, all right. So I saw somebody chime in. Did Sharon finally get in? Nope, I don't see her. Okay. All right. So
There she
let's.
is.
Oh, is she okay?
She's coming in now.
There she is. Okay, Sharon, can you hear us?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, all right, good deal. So Rachel, you'll note that Sharon joined the meeting. So let's approve the orders of the day.
Oh, no. And can we get everybody who's not speaking to mute?
Yep, that'd be good. All right, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Let's approve the orders of the day. You got the agenda that Rachel sent out a couple of days ago. Is there any changes to the agenda? That hopefully this is going to be not a very long meeting. We just have a couple things to go over. Okay, so my only other question is I sent everybody an update on what's going on in China over this past weekend. Does anybody want to talk about that in a closed session item or not? Melanie?
I didn't receive anything. Can you resend to me?
Oh, okay, I sent it to the whole board list.
Yeah,
Okay,
I didn't get it.
okay, all right. All right, so Rich Maston.
Daryl, maybe it would be a good idea if we had a brief from you and our China reps in closed session on what's going on. It's pretty
Yep.
hard to follow some of the emails and Facebook posts because I do not get Facebook posts.
Okay, I did you get the update I sent today to
Yes.
notify the board of what's going on?
Yes.
Okay, would you mind forwarding that to Melanie?
Okay.
Sharon?
I will do that.
Okay, thank you. Sharon?
Hi, Daryl. I didn't get it either.
Okay, all right, well, let me see if I can find it real quick here, and I will send it out to everybody again.
I can find it, Daryl. This is Rachel, so that you can go on with the meeting. And I also want to take this opportunity to acknowledge that CFA attorney Shelley Perkins is here.
Okay, fantastic. Hi, Shelley, welcome. Okay, so we'll decide whether we're going to add that as a closed session item before we adjourn. Okay, Aline set up a closed session link in case we needed it. So, is there any objections to approval of our orders of the day? Hearing no objections, by unanimous consent, our orders are set. So let's move on to business item number 2, which is Carol Krasnowski and Monty Phillips.
All righty. First one I have on the list is extended. This is basically a meeting of extensions of exceptions that were put in place for the 2020-2021 season.
Yep.
The question is whether they should also be extended into the 2021-2022 season as well.
Okay.
Monty, Daryl, before Monty starts, I would like to make a standing motion
Okay.
to approve all of these exceptions to be extended to next season.
Okay.
Rachel
And
makes.
Daryl, I would like to have a standing second to Carol's motion.
Okay. All right. Okay, Monty, go ahead.
All righty. The first one on the list has to do with show rules 3.09, 3.10, and 3.11. What that basically was about was that judges were allowed to basically cancel shows not already licensed. They could cancel their contracts up to 6 weeks prior to the opening day of the show and could still exhibit at a show the weekend that they canceled.
Okay.
That was the exception. That's number 1.
Okay. Any debate on motion number 1? Okay, I don't see anyone's hands up.
Oh, it's Rachel. I'm raising my hand.
Oh, got you. I see it now. Go ahead.
Thanks. Monty, can you repeat it if I didn't hear it? Is this, what is the motion that we're doing to extend the exception?
Correct. These are all motions to extend the exception into the 2021-2022 show season.
For the entire show season. Okay, I see. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or any debate? Any objection to the motion? Melanie?
So Rachel, you just mentioned this is for the entire season. I guess my question would be is, since we don't really know what's going on with COVID, should we consider doing this for the first 6 months of the season and readdress, say 4 or 5 months in?
Shelley?
So anytime you have a rule, you can always change it by amending or rescinding. So it does not matter whether you do 12 months or 6 months, because you can change your mind. It's not like set in stone.
George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
On a completely unrelated topic, somebody turned off my video and I can't turn it back on because it says host turned it off.
Okay.
There you go. You should be good.
Okay.
There you
hold
are,
on.
George. There
Thank
you're
you.
back. All right. Any other debate? Any objection to motion number 1? Oh. Okay, hearing no objection by unanimous consent, motion number 1 is adopted.
Okay.
Go ahead, Monty. Number 2.
We have an exception to show rule 3.13 regarding the number of percentage of guest judges that can judge at a show, excluding regions 1 to 7. Basically, it waived the 50% limit. However, that's already been extended for region 9, but we never addressed regions 8 or the international division. This proposal is to add it for regions 8 and the international division. It's already extended for region 9.
Okay. Okay, any debate on motion number 2? Okay, I don't see anybody's hands up. Any objection to the acceptance of motion number 2? Okay,
Daryl,
here. Yep.
I have no objection. This is Pam Delbar. I have
Okay.
no objection to the rule, but should it be written as to include Region 9, so there's no, so we lump everything all together and it's just in one place?
Monty?
Well, you've already extended it for Region 9, so the exception would basically be Regions 8, 9, and the International Division. I already
The
know that
difference-
in the motion.
the
It says
difference
that Region
was,
9 is already
Monty,
extended.
There is a difference. When George Eigenhauser made that motion back a few months ago, it was an indefinite period. This would put it for the period of the show season.
So you want to change your exception to 1 year instead of indefinitely? Pam?
The indefinitely I took to be with an unspecified period within the next show season. George can possibly clarify that, but it would, to me, make it a neater proposal to have it all in one place.
Okay, George, you're recognized.
Yeah, I agree with Pam. The reason it was left open-ended was so we could change it later. But since our attorney has already told us, if we do any of these, we can change them later anyway. It's better to have it all in one place and one consistent language. So I don't see any problem with including Region 9 in this motion.
All right, somebody make an amendment.
I so move. This is Pam.
George will
Okay.
second.
Okay, thank you. So the motion is an amendment, and that's to include Region 9 in this proposal. Is there
Right,
any?
Just add Region 9 in the last sentence.
Yes. Okay, you okay with that, Pam and George?
Yes.
Okay. Any debate? This is on the amendment to include Region 9. Any objection to including Region 9 in this motion? Okay, hearing no objection by unanimous consent, the amendment is adopted. So now we need to go back to the amended motion. Is there any further debate on that? All right, seeing no hands up, any objection to the acceptance of the amended motion, number 2? Okay, seeing no hands up, hearing no objection by unanimous consent, number 2 is adopted. Monty, number 3?
Number 3 is a little complicated. Apparently, normally, we do not allow guest judges from ACFA, TICA, or CFF, nor do we do guest judging at their shows in North America. We put an exception in place for the 2021-2022 show season. If you couldn't get a CFA judge relatively close by, you could use one of these 3 associations of judges. The limits on distance are here, the limits on shows are here, and it's basically a mutual guest judge exception, i.e. they can judge our shows, we can judge their shows.
Okay. Melanie, you're recognized.
Thank you. Well, I'm all for giving our clubs whatever support we can to face the challenges of show production during these times. I don't see that there's a need for this extension for the coming season. It's my understanding that there are a number of CFA judges who are ready and willing and able to go out and judge now. And the reality is there just aren't that many shows. Our judges put a considerable amount of time and effort into becoming CFA licensed judges, and I'd like to think that there's some value in that. CFA exhibitors keep telling us that they want to see CFA judges, and the CFA judges are available. It seems to me that we should be supporting our judges, not extending this emergency measure, especially given the fact that we have no data to support the fact that there actually is a significant, if any, cost savings by using these other judges.
Okay, Sharon Roy, you're recognized.
Yes, I wondered what the purpose was for extending this a whole year. It was supposed to be for an emergency situation. And what I'm wondering is, can we just extend it, say, for 3 months and see how successful it is and then review it in the future?
I had asked Marlene Priest, the president of ACFA, and Vicki Jo Harrison, the president of TICA, if they were in agreement to extend it for 6 months. and they both said yes. So for what it's worth. Kenny Curley, you're recognized.
Yeah, I would support 6 months as well. Just because we haven't had enough shows to see if the program it definitely was to help with the expenses for our clubs. The mileage limit was put in place, but the rules were written primarily to protect our CFA judges. So if there was a judge within the 200-mile or plus limit, they would have to be asked first. At the time, COVID was rampaging. This is what we came up with to try to save our clubs money, knowing that they would not be able to have a gate. But as far as the number of shows we or the other associations have had, they have been limited. And there are benefits in that we do expose our very professional judges to exhibitors in these other organizations. So I would support an amendment to maybe try another 6 months for this program. That way data will be collected and we'd be able to see where we stand at that point. But
all right, do I have
we do have protections for our judges that we presently have, which obviously we would prefer to have.
Steve, second.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, Carol Krasnowski, you're recognized.
Yes, Kenny basically said most of what I wanted to say. And I think this was put in place to help our clubs with expenses, because with the lack of spectators and in some cases, clubs having to have reduced numbers of entries due to COVID, social distancing. I think it does help them, and they can't afford to fly in judges from a distance. So I would support doing this for 6 months. I also see a benefit with this as far as bridging the gap between the different associations in North America. I think it's kind of a good thing. We should all be working together.
Yes.
I think this has sort of helped us understand each other a little more and maybe help each other a little more. So I support it.
Okay, thank you. Rachel Enger, you're recognized.
Thanks. My concern, I am supportive of it as well. My only concern today is that our guest judge administrator doesn't know this is coming up. There's no judging program issues on the agenda, so she's not here. And I have, that causes me to pause and consider if today is the right day to pass this.
Well, we know her position. She's against it.
Okay.
I mean, that was in her report for the April 6th meeting. Okay. Any other people want to weigh in on this? Okay, so I'll call the vote. All those in favor of the amendment to extend this for 6 months, raise your hands. Okay, so the yes votes are Rich Maston, Steve McCullough, George Eigenhauser, Pam Delabar, Kathy Dunham, Carol Krasnowski, Rachel Enger, Yukika Hayata, Cindy Bird, Kenny Curley, Sharon Roy, Howard Webster. If you guys will take your hands down. All those opposed, raise your hands. Okay, so the no votes are Melanie Morgan, Kathy Calhoun, John Kalila. Any abstentions? John, are you voting no or okay, there you go. All right, no abstentions. Okay, Rachel, you can announce a vote on the amendment.
Thank you. I have 12 yes votes, 3 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Okay, so the amendment is agreed to. Okay, so action item number 3 that Monty has presented has been amended to for a 6-month extension. So is there any debate on the amended motion? Okay, I see no hands up, so I'll call the vote. All those in favor of the amended motion, raise your hands. Okay, so the yes votes are Rich Maston, George Eigenhauser, Carol Krasnowski, Pam Delabar, Kathy Dunham, Steve McCullough, Sharon Roy, Cindy Bird, Yukika Hayata, Rachel Anger, Howard Webster. If you'll take your hands down. And please raise your hand if you're a no. I have Sharon Roy, Melanie Morgan, Kathy Calhoun, John Kalila.
May I get a vote from Kenny Curley, please?
Yes.
Kenny's a yes. And Sharon, I have you as a yes and a no.
She's a no. Sharon, can you unmute and tell us which way you're voting? Sharon Roy.
Unmute. Okay, I'm yes, and I can't seem to get my hand unraised. I'm working
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
So that is 12 yes votes, 3 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Okay, thank you so much. And so the amended motion is agreed to. Okay, Monty, number 4.
Number 4 is basically a companion to number 3, whereas number 3 involved guest judges from those associations judging at CFA shows. Number 4 is just the reverse. CFA judges being allowed to guest judge at ACFA, TICA, and CFF shows.
Okay, before I state the motion, would you like to change it to for a 6-month extension?
Yeah, for the last sentence, it should say we recommend this permission be extended till October 31st, 2021.
Okay, thank you. So the question is stated, and as Monty stated, this will be for 6 months. Is there any debate, Kenny Curley?
No, I was just going to make a motion in favor of that.
Okay. All right. Carol's already has a standing motion, Kenny, and Pam, I think, was the one that has a standing second.
Okay.
And as long as I stated, we don't
Right.
have to do an amendment because I stated it before I stated the question and Monty wanted to change it. So,
Okay.
all right. So any debate on this? All right, let's call for the yes votes, please. Raise your hand. Okay, the yes votes are Steve McCullough, George Eigenhauser, Pam Delabar, Carol Krasnowski, Rich Maston, Kathy Dunham, Yukiko Hayata-san, Kenny Curley, Cindy Bird, Rachel Anger, Sharon Roy, and Howard Webster. You'll take your hands down. And the no votes, Melanie Morgan, Kathy Calhoun, John Kalila. Any abstentions? John, take your hand down unless you're abstaining. You voted no. Thank
I'm
you.
trying to.
Okay, all right, no problem. All right, Rachel, you can announce the vote.
I know you'll be surprised.
Yep,
12
I
yes,
will.
12 yes, 3 no, 0 abstentions.
Okay, so the motion is agreed to. Monty, number 5.
Number 5, Show Rule 4.03 states that essentially that if a club does not hold a show 2 consecutive years, they lose their traditional date. What we did was put in place for the 2020-2021 show season an exception that said, if you don't have a show that year, that doesn't count as one of the shows you lost. We recommend that be extended to the 2021-22 show season, which means that if you don't hold a show in 2020 or 2021, that doesn't mean you've lost your show date.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. Any debate on this one? Rich Maston, you're recognized.
Yeah, Daryl, thank you. There's no debate on this. My question is, didn't we already pass something not too long ago about extending this to going out 3 years? It was proposed to 4 years, and then the board changed it to 3 years. I think it was
Find that in the minutes.
I think it was,
Monty,
I can't find that in the minutes.
okay, John Kalila,
We passed it to 22-23 season.
I thought so too.
okay, Kathy Dunham,
Yeah, Daryl, I was the one that made that motion and we passed it to
Okay.
extend to the 2022-2023 show season.
okay, Rachel, can you tell us where it's at in the minutes?
That's why I have my hand
Yep.
raised.
Yep, I thought so.
When people claim that that motion occurred, it'd be helpful to know when it happened.
Yep. Yep. Kathy, do you know when it was? Since you made the motion?
I want to say it was in February, but I cannot be positive of that.
Okay. Well, just to be sure, why don't we just amend this to 2023 and then it'll just be double voted on, but it'll be sure to be covered. Somebody want to make that amendment?
Yeah, let me add the amendment. The last sentence would say, we recommend that this modification remain in effect through the 2022-2023 show season.
Okay.
Dave second.
All right. Thank you both. Any debate on this? Kathy Dunham, your hands up. Carol
No, I don't
Krasnowski.
have
Oh,
anything.
sorry. Carol Krasnowski.
No, I was going to make the motion. That was
Okay. All right. All right. Good deal. So we have an amendment, and that's to add through the 2022-2023 show season. So we're going to vote on the amendment. All those in favor, raise your hands. Okay, the yes votes are Rich Maston, Sharon Roy, Pam Delabar, Kathy Dunham, George Eigenhauser, Carol Krasnowski, Steve McCullough, Cindy Bird, John Kalila, Kenny Curley, Hayata San, Melanie Morgan, Rachel Anger, and Kathy Calhoun, and Howard Webster. All right, if you'll take your hands down, any no votes? No, seeing no votes, any abstentions? Okay, none. So the motion is agreed to, or the amendment is agreed to. So let's, I'll call for unanimous consent because I think everybody's gonna agree to this motion. So number 5 is amended to add, to extend through 2022 and 2023. Is there any objection? Okay, hearing no objection by unanimous consent, the motion is agreed to. All right, Monty, number 6.
Number 6 was a show rule proposal that was passed, I believe, either in October or February, that basically reduced the number of qualifying rings required for the champion and premier title. Number of judges, pardon me, required to issue qualifying rings from 4 or 3 in certain countries down to 2.
Okay.
Well, we haven't really changed conditions between then and this year, so we
Okay.
recommend that this modification remain in effect for the 21-22 season.
Okay, good. Thank you. Any debate on this one? All right, I see no hands up. Is there any objection to the ratification of motion number 6? Okay, hearing no objections by unanimous consent, number 6 is agreed to. Okay, Monty, number 7.
Number 7, we also passed at that same proposal for 3 show rules to allow a cat to grand based on the total number of points received, regardless of how many qualifying rings it had received.
Okay.
If it had 200 grand points, for example, and it was in North America, it could become a grand champion. Didn't matter if it had 4 qualifying rings, 5 qualifying rings, or 3 qualifying rings. If it managed to get 200 grand points, it could become a grand champion.
Okay.
Same situation with premiership, and it's based on the points required in whatever area they live in.
Okay. All right, any debate on number 7? Okay, is there any objection to the ratification of motion number 7? Okay, hearing no objection by unanimous consent, number 7 is agreed to. Monty, number 8.
Number 8, and you're going to have a contrary proposal when you get to the new business, was to extend the allowance to obtain a regional win without ever showing in your own region. Right now, there's a requirement that you must attend at least one show in your own region. We passed an exemption to that requirement for the 2020-2021 show season. This would extend that waiver into the 2021-2022 show season as well.
Okay, Kenny Curley?
Yeah, just to be clear, if this passes at this level, it's my intention to withdraw that.
Okay, Sharon Roy?
Yes, I would hope this passes, and I'm really thinking of our Canadian exhibitors. More than likely, when Canada opens up, they will probably only go to shows in Region 4. They're big supporters of like the Rochester, Buffalo area, and I would hate to see them lose out on a win if we went back to having them attend a show in our region.
Okay, George Eigenhauser, you're recognized.
Yeah, and I can't support this. The reason we took away the requirement a little over a year ago is that CFA shut down cat shows near the end of a show season. So exhibitors who planned on showing in their own region would have had the ability to do so taken away from them at the last minute. We don't have that situation anymore. What we have are regions opening up. No one has the expectation they're going to lose points already earned because they didn't go to a show in their own region. What we need to do is start getting people to support their regional clubs and the regional shows. If we pass this, what we're saying is that any carpetbagger can go anywhere, earn 0 points in their own region, and come back with a regional win to the detriment of people who are supporting their local clubs and their local shows. There's a reason for the rule. After years and years and years of saying we ought to focus more on regional awards and breed wins, somebody finally stood up at an annual and said, can we at least make people have to show once in their own region to get a regional award? That is such a minimum standard. I don't see any compelling reason to waive it at this point in time. When we granted the waiver before, it was the end of the show season. We were defeating people's expectations. This is at the beginning of the show season. There's no reason to do it.
Okay, Rachel Anger, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'm just wondering how many shows Region 2 and Region 5 have held since the shutdown. Have they held any? My
No.
concern, okay. My concern is that you're going to disqualify someone from earning a regional win because their region was unable to hold a show.
Okay, Shelley Perkins.
I was gonna mention what Rachel just said. And so a fix could be to say, to pass the motion, but with an amendment that says something like, so long as there are no shows in your own region or something like that. I mean, I'll leave that to you all, but I was going to say there are regions that don't have any shows and it's not sure that they will.
Okay, Gavin Cal.
Yeah, I think Shelly just said what I wanted to say. For China right now, we have 3 areas. As of this season, China North has no show at all. And we don't expect China North to have any shows anytime soon in the upcoming season. So yeah, so I think an amendment saying that, you know, for the regions that do not have their own shows, maybe they will be continue to be granted this exception. That would be more reasonable.
Okay, thank you, Gavin. Carol Krasnowski.
Yes. Rachel said what I wanted to, and Gavin as well. The thing is, I exhibited myself at one show in the southern region, and there were people exhibiting from regions that have not had any shows at all this year.
Yep.
And it would be a real shame if they would not be eligible for any kind of regional award. I would support an amendment to this motion that says, provided no show in the region is held during the show season, But to just turn it down altogether, I would be against that.
Okay, Rachel Anger.
Thank you. I would support that as well. My question is, how easy will that be facilitated at central office? Is this going to cause giant staff time or programming?
Eileen, you want to answer that?
We'll have to manually monitor it. I mean, for just one season, it's not worth making a program change, so we'll just manually monitor it. So it will take some time, but it's certainly not an impossible task.
Okay, George Eigenhauser.
Then I'm going to go ahead and make the motion to amend number 8 to state that this waiver only applies to regions in which no shows were held during that show season.
Melanie will second.
Okay.
You
I've
better add
heard-
divisional areas.
Okay, regions or divisions.
Okay.
Steve second.
Okay, good deal. All right. So any discussion on the amendment? Gavin, your hand's still up? Okay, thank you. All right. Any debate on the amendment? Any objection to the amendment? Okay, hearing no objection, by unanimous consent, the amendment is agreed to. So let's, any discussion now on the amended motion? Okay, here, seeing no one's hands up, is there any objection to the amended motion? Hearing no objection by unanimous consent, the number 8 as amended is ratified. Okay, let's go to number 9, Monty.
Number 9 was an exception that was put in place for Hong Kong only to allow them to count super specialty rings as 2 rings in the formula that creates and calculates the number of awards. Not that it would have helped, but we won't go there. We recommend that extension also be extended because if you're willing to do it for 1 season, you might as well do it for 2.
Okay. All right, any debate? Okay, seeing no hands up, is there any objection to ratification of motion number 9? Okay, hearing no objections, but unanimous consent, number 9 is agreed to. Okay, Monty, number 10.
Number 10 is a request for guidance. Essentially, we have 2 regions or 2 areas, actually. Hong Kong, which has had 2 rings, and Thailand, which has had 4 rings, where the formula for awards would dictate 0. That's the first issue. Second issue, China has rings that aren't really whole rings, i.e. it's a long hair ring only. No short hair cats are judged. How do you count that? So we request guidance on how to proceed. Should we also do it as an exception, a rule change, or not do anything at all? Just let them have 0 awards.
Well, I don't think no awards is a good option. So, Gavin, you're recognized.
Yeah, so I can only speak for the China division. So this season we've had about 20, I think we'll have about 25, 24 shows by end of season, but only maybe around 80 plus rings. And this is not because clubs are not willing to invite more judges. It's just that we don't have enough judges, right? And you know, this season is also the first time we see a lot of shows coming back to China for CFA. And our exhibitors are really, you know, they're supporting us, even though we only have 2 rings or 3 rings. They're still picking, you know, us over all the other associations. So right now I checked all the scoreboard for the different areas in China. There are quite a few cats that are already within the 25 spot. But, you know, they probably, you know, depending on how the shows go, they may not make it into top 15, which is what we would have right now if we count the 80 ring. I think it's 75 to 95 would be 15 spot divisional win for each area. So what we want to propose is we're wondering if it is possible to award 25 divisional wins to all the China areas as long as the point minimum for the divisional win is met. And also, as I understand it, there's no ring requirement for all the RWs in United States as long as the minimum points are met, right? So that's my take on this.
Okay, so somebody want to make that motion?
Melanie will make that motion.
Thank you, Melanie.
Kenny will second.
All right, so that's are we making amendment to Monty's number 10? Is that what we're doing? Or is this a standalone motion?
It sounds like standalone to me.
Okay, all right, so it'll be a standalone motion. Matthew, you're recognized.
Hi, Daryl. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And if Hong Kong or the rest of the ID could have the same, just to count the minimum points rather than number of rings.
Okay, so you want to amend it to include all the ID plus ID China.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Dave
I need.
second.
Well, no, he can't make the motion. I need someone to make the motion.
I will, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie.
Dave
Kenny
second.
will second again.
Okay, thank you. All right, so it's to award not based on rings but on points. Is that correct? Gavin, that correct? Matthew, correct?
Right. As long as minimum requirement for the points are met,
Yes.
We should be granted a top 25. I don't know
Okay.
what the number is for Hong Kong or other
Yeah.
division.
Yeah, but we're taking away the ring requirement and just basing it on points. All right, so any debate on that motion? Amended, well, we corrected it to include all the ID. All right, I don't see any hands up. So let's since we made a motion, we basically amended it. Let's vote on the amendment. Any objection to the amendment? Kathy Calhoun? No, okay. Hearing no objection, the amendment is agreed to. So now we have an amended motion that covers ID China and ID the rest of the place. Anyone want to debate the amended motion? Okay, I see no hands up by unanimous consent. The ID China and the ID other is agreed to. All right, Monty, anything
Basically,
else on
what I'm
anything else
understanding,
on
to make
10?
sure I'm clear, we're going to take that section of the show rules and modify it so that we're no longer looking at number of rings to determine awards. We're looking strictly at whether they meet the point minimums and it's top 25 otherwise.
Correct.
Got it. Number
Okay.
11. This is the
Oh,
last
hang
one
on,
I have.
hang on. Carol Krasnowski has her hand up.
Okay, I just want to make certain that this is for the current show season. We're not talking about next show season. This is for 2021. Next show season, there may be a lot more rings. We don't really know yet. We can address that later. I just want to clarify that, make sure that's what everybody is agreeing to.
Gavin?
Yeah, I'm talking about this current season. I think next season we'll have way more shows.
Yep. Okay. Matt, you okay with that just for the current season?
Yes, current season. Thank you.
Oh, yep. Thank you. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. All right. Monty, you okay with that?
Yeah, that just means I don't do a rule change after all.
Yeah. Yeah. Just an
Thank God.
exception. Okay. Number 11.
Number 11 is simply a fee exception extension. Try to say that one 3 times fast. Right
Yeah.
now, the fee structure for licensing a show with 1 to 4 rings was revised to just $50 plus insurance. We recommend that exception stay in place for 21-22. Not that a whole lot of shows only have 1 to 4 rings in the US, but they do overseas.
Yep. Gavin, your hands up. Okay. Gavin's hand is down. Rachel Enger, you're recognized.
I would like to make an amendment that we adopt this as a rule, not with a cap on it. I think those clubs in Region 9 particularly that are putting on the smaller shows are showing that it can be done and not just there. We can adopt the smaller show format here in the US very readily.
I'll second Rachel's amendment.
Okay. All right. Is there any debate on that? We're taking a show rule out of sequence by doing this.
Technically, that's not a show rule. Your fee structure is basically something you have in a table someplace.
Okay. All right. Rachel, you and George okay with that? I see you
Yes.
shaking your head. Yes. Okay. All right. So, all right. Any debate on the amendment that Rachel and George have presented? Is there any objection to the amendment? All right. Seeing no hands up, by unanimous consent, the amendment is adopted. So now let's, and anybody want to talk about the amended motion? All right, I see no hands up. Is there any objection to the amended motion? Okay, by unanimous consent, the amended motion is agreed to. Monty, you got anything else?
No, but you're going to be talking about show rules when you get to new business.
Yep. Okay. All right, we have no reports on special or select or ad hoc committees.
Daryl?
Yes, go ahead, Rich.
On the traditional show date, the board passed that motion on December 1st, 2020 board meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And then as far as number 10, so what are we going to do for next year for number 10? Are we not going to do anything at this point in time?
I think we're going to wait and see how the shows go. And we can always set aside the number of ring requirements if there's a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's what Gavin was saying, and Matthew. Gavin, you and Matthew want to chime in real quick?
Yeah, I think we're satisfied with implementing the changes for this season.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens in the next season.
Okay. Matt, you want to add anything?
No, it's all good.
Okay, good deal. Carol Krasnowski, you're recognized.
Yes, I just want to mention that we will be posting a list of all these exceptions on the CFA website along with the regular show rules, just so that we all know where to find them and we don't lose track of any of them. And all the exhibitors and clubs know where to find them as well.
Yep, that's a good idea. Thank you so much, Carol. All right, reports of special, select, or ad hoc committees. I have none. Unfinished business. We have none. Other committee reports. We have none. And let's move on to number 5, which is new business. And that is about national awards. And Kenny Curley, that's you. So you're up.
Yeah, hello, everyone. Not that I haven't been anywhere. The reason that I'm bringing this back up is for obvious feedback that I've gotten from many of the clubs within my region, even overseas in the international division. I'm doing this primarily for the clubs. I want to thank Mary Kalenchik for taking the time to put this together. This is a proposal that I'm looking at the glass half full, hoping that the COVID situation gets better, CFA can open up, and keeping in realization that that the best marketing tool that we've got, particularly at this time, is our shows. And I think that if we reduced things proportionately, and as things open up, it at least gives people an incentive to continue to show for yet another level of achievement. My hope is that everybody has read this. My hope is you've read the rationale and heard the support from people. And so I want to go ahead and propose this motion, for adoption by this board.
Kenny, you want to make a standing motion for all your motions you have here?
But I would like to withdraw one motion.
Okay.
That is the motion that we've already voted upon, reinstating the residency requirements for region and national award areas.
Okay, so you're withdrawing that motion.
I'd like to withdraw that
Okay,
and then continue on with the other, standing motion for all.
okay.
Steve second standing.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so just as a point of information, I held a meeting with Steve and with Cindy Bird in Mesquite, Texas, and we talked about reinstating the national winds, and everybody, I mean, everybody there was for this. So just so everyone knows, we got a lot of people that are, and a lot of them were club show producing clubs, and they said they need the national win so that people will come to the shows. And some of the people said that, if there weren't going to be any, they were going to shave their cats down because they're not going to do it. Melanie, you're recognized.
Thank you. I don't know that any of us were necessarily against national wins in the April 6th meeting. I certainly was not necessarily opposed to reinstating it. What I didn't want to see was us act without doing our due diligence and looking at options that address the changes that we're experiencing as a result of the pandemic. I'm grateful we've taken the time to investigate options. And although what I had come up with were slightly different numbers in terms of rings and ring point averages, the changes and differences really aren't so drastic. And certainly they're not worth muddying the waters by debating them. So, the bottom line is there's no such thing as a completely level playing field, but I think this proposal will do a good job in equalizing things and making the best of what undeniably is a bad situation for the entire world at the moment. So I can and I do support this proposal. And like Kenny, I think Mary Kay, who was the one who first brought this to my attention some time ago. And I think it does a really nice job of addressing the changes that we're experiencing, at least for this season.
Okay, Rachel Enger, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'm not speaking for or against it. I'm just bringing up my same concern I had in one of the previous rules, that I am sure all the people that were able to attend the show were supportive, but what about the large group of people that were not able to attend the show because they live really far away? They'd have to take a plane there. And, the regions that we've already mentioned that don't have shows up and running, and there's no immediate relief for that problem. So what do we do for those people? I just want to be a voice for them. Somebody's got to speak up for the person that's in a remote area that just can't get on a plane and fly to Texas or California or Florida, or wherever the shows are being held.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Pam Delabar, you're recognized.
At my Zoom meeting with my region last week, the overall feeling about national awards is, even with these requirements being rewritten, that the award loses value. And this was stated by people who have had national awards. That was one concern. Again, my concern is, are we going to be able to put on the shows to be able to garner enough points for people to get in? As you know, my region had 3 small shows, of which did not produce any regional winners. So national wins were just totally out of the question. My personal concern is that when we get these ultimatums from people, like, if I can't go for a national win, I'm going to shave my cat. Well, the cat will be happy, and the clubs may not be. That the spirit of the award has been taken away.
Okay, Steve McCauley, you're recognized.
I just went through our catalog and every region was represented. Region 3 came in 3rd on the list of attendees. Region 2 was the 2nd highest. So people are getting on planes. People are going to shows. People are getting in their cars and driving from Arizona. I had 3 exhibitors do that. So people are getting out. and showing, just, and not just regionally.
Okay, Pam.
I'm sorry, I
Okay.
didn't get my raised.
right. Gavin Cal.
Oh yeah. Again, for China, the situation is a bit different for next season. I think we already have looking at least 4 or 5 shows for the coming month of May, and we're expecting a lot more shows to happen in China in the next season. So I'm not sure how exactly the cutoff points for the national wins will be implemented, but we definitely need to have the national win available to encourage our exhibitors here, as well as to fend off our exhibitors. I mean, our rivals associations, because the past season, you know, all the other associations have all these awards, including I think TICA. So. And still there are people who are loyal to us, but we also want to give the people here a fighting chance to obtain such a title.
Yep. And ACFA and TICA never stopped awarding their national wins. We are the only one that shut down our national win. Kenny?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else wanted to speak, but I just wanted to address a couple of the comments that I heard. I know I'm dating myself, but been judging since 1983. And I can tell you unequivocally as a judge, with the dwindling number of entries in a regular year, the competition has never been so equal or fierce. So it doesn't cheapen a national win by cats defeated. I will never believe that. It's all about competition. And the competition that I have seen, particularly in the last several years, and I think a lot of the judges that sit on this executive board will agree with me, is consistently better than what I used to see back in the early 80s and late 70s as an exhibitor. So I would belay that. As far as helping our clubs, this will help the clubs. Any time that we take something out of the equation where entries are going to be inhibited because there's nothing to strive for, you're going to hurt the clubs. And we are an association of clubs.
Yep. Carol Krasnowski, you're recognized.
Yes, I support this motion. I do like the way it's written with the reduced number of points. I think it kind of levels the playing field, and it allows cats to come out a little later in the season. If there are not any shows they could attend at the current time. And I have to say what Kenny said about the level of competition and the quality. It's amazing this year. I think people have, during COVID, they bred some wonderful cats, and the competition has been really fierce and very extreme. And it's wonderful to see some of the classes really expanding to the point that we haven't seen years prior. And people need a goal to work toward. And I see no harm in reinstating the national wins and giving them a goal to work for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carol. George Eigenhauser.
I'm afraid that this may actually be a double-edged sword when it comes to helping the clubs. Certainly reinstating the national wins encourages people to show, no question about that. But capping the number of scored rings discourages people from showing, because once you're significantly over 50 and you're throwing away bigger and bigger numbers, it becomes harder and harder to find a show that's worth entering. So while this may get people in the door to start a national run, it closes that door much sooner than we ever did in the past by ending, well, not ending the scoring, but reducing the benefit you get from continuing to show. So if we really want to help the clubs, we would set a higher number of rings rather than 50 for adults and 20 for kittens in order to encourage people to continue showing once they've started. So this is more of a mixed blessing, I think, than people realize.
Okay, Rachel Langer, you're recognized.
Thanks. That's a good point, George. I am going to support the motion. I do like the way it's written. I just want to wrap up my comments by saying that I wish there was, I just hate to see a portion of our exhibitor base be excluded because of the current situation.
Okay, Carol Krasnowski.
Yes, I just want to comment on what George said. I do not agree with that at all. I think that there are still so few shows that it's going to be very, very difficult for anyone to get more than 50 rings in this season. We're starting to see a few more shows on the schedule, but they're still very few and far between. And by having 50 rings or 20 rings or whatever it was, I think that it would give more people an opportunity and the ability to strive toward a bigger goal.
Okay, Kenny Curley.
Yeah, I'm coming from the standpoint of things improving here in our country and around the world. This is why I'm so much in agreement with the reduced amount of rings. It's very rare for a cat in our pre-COVID years to come out, say, in January and achieve a national win, particularly in championship. I've seen it done in December, et cetera. But this allows everybody the opportunity, again, with the hope that things do improve, where clubs are allowed to stage shows. I don't know how long it's going to take our clubs to get our visitors to come back. I can't predict that, but I do know that the ability to have shows has a far greater chance with where we are today than we were last year. So I do think that we do need to get this, give this as an incentive to our breeders, exhibitors, and certainly to help our clubs get those entries up as high as they can.
Okay, thank you, Kenny. Anyone else before we call the vote? Nope. Okay, so all those in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, so the yes votes are Carol Krasnowski, Steve McCullough, Kenny Curley, Rich Maston, Kathy Dunham, Melanie Morgan, Cindy Bird, Rachel Anger, John Kalila, Hayata San, George Eichenhauser, Kathy Calhoun, Howard Webster. You'll take your hands down.
Daryl, this is Sharon. I can't raise my hand, but I'm a yes.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. And Rachel, you can add Sharon on as a yes. All right, Kenny, take your hand down and let's have the no votes. If you're against the proposal, please raise your hand. Okay, any abstentions? Okay, Rachel, you can announce the vote on that one.
I did not get a vote from Pam Delabra. Or I missed
My
it.
hand's up for an abstention.
Okay,
Oh, you're
thank you.
abstaining. Okay.
Thank you, Pam.
So we have 14 yes votes, 0 no votes, 1 abstention.
Okay, so the motion is agreed to. All right, let's move on to Kenny's next motion. Ellen, will you scroll up a little bit so we can see the, or is Shelley doing the screen share?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the title of breed winner for regions 1-9, breed winner for China, International Division Limited, championship cats receiving best of breed, 200 to 100 point minimum for this award. It just reduces the minimum from 200 to 100.
Okay. All right, any debate on this one? Okay, is there any objection to ratification of this motion? Okay, Melanie, you're recognized.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not comfortable reducing the points from 200 to 100. I think already at 200, we're awfully low. So I'm not in support of this.
Okay, all right, so let's call for the votes. All those in favor, please raise your hand. So the yes votes are Pam Delabar, George Eigenhauser, Steve McCullough, Cindy Bird, Kathy Dunham, Sharon Roy, Hayata-san, Rich Maston, Carol Krasnowski, Kenny Curley, John Kalila, Kathy Calhoun, Howard Webster. All right, if you'll take your hands down.
Sorry, I was a yes as well, Rachel.
Oh, Rachel, okay. All right, so the no votes, please raise your hand. And Melanie Morgan. All right, any abstentions? No abstentions. Rachel, you can announce the vote.
We had 14 yes votes, 1 no vote, 0 abstentions.
Okay, so the motion is agreed to. All right, so the next motion was withdrawn. So Kenny, let's go to your next motion.
For the 21-22 season only, continue the 2021 requirements for grant of distinction award.
Okay. Is there any debate on this one?
Just a comment from me.
Yep.
That's a rule change that will have to be a permanent rule change, because the Grant of Distinction Award has to address every season from when it was created until the current season.
Okay. So do we need to do something to this motion then to make it legal?
No, we'll just have to write a rule change and you'll see it in October.
Okay.
That was the plan anyway.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Thank you, Monty. We appreciate your input on that. All right. Is there any debate on this motion? Any objection to the motion? Okay. Seeing no objections by unanimous consent, the Grant of Distinction Award is extended into the next season. So that motion is agreed to. Kenny, next.
For the 21-22 season only, adjust the point minimums for regional wins to 100 for kittens and premiership, 200 for championship, and 50 for household pets.
Okay. All right. Any debate on that motion? See no hands up. Is there any objection to the ratification of the motion? All right. Seeing no objection by unanimous consent, the motion is agreed to. And your last motion, Kenny?
Well, I believe we've already addressed this in Monty's motions.
That's correct. We have.
It was motion number 7, I believe.
I would withdraw that motion.
Okay, good deal. Thank you so much. All right. So is there anything else you have for us, Kenny?
No, I just would like to thank the CFA board for their support of our exhibitors, breeders, and particularly our clubs.
Thank you. So do we have any other, that's the end of our orders of the day. So we need to decide if we're gonna have a closed session meeting. Rich, you want to talk about that?
Daryl, my suggestion to do it in closed session is to bring everybody up to speed, since they haven't been able to read the emails or follow the Facebook post.
Okay.
Up to the board if they wish to do that.
All right. So can I just have a show of hands for people who would like to go into closed session to discuss it? George?
Yeah, I was going to say, if the purpose is to bring them up to speed, send them the email again and let's hype the whole board for something they could read at their leisure.
Cindy Bird, you want to comment? You're the one that talked to me privately ahead of time.
I agree with George.
Okay. All right. So Rachel, you'll make sure everybody gets updated with the email.
I have sent it to the 2 people that indicated they hadn't received it. Does anyone else need a copy of that email sent?
Okay. All right. Okay. I've shut off the commenting on the Facebook post because I gave them one update and I updated the board with the latest information I had. And so if we need anything, we're going to have a May meeting because we have candidates for the T2 program and the additional Chinese associate judge applicants that we have to review. So if there's something that needs to be done, we can follow up on closed session at that meeting. Rachel, you have anything else?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, thanks. So we went about an hour and 10 minutes tonight. We got a lot accomplished. I think our constituents will be happy that we're going to have national wins. So we encourage them to get out there and show their cats. Thanks everybody for your valuable input tonight, and we'll see you the first Tuesday in May. Is that that's the next meeting date, Rachel?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Happy 420 to everyone.
Happy-
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.